Hey guys, welcome to an impromptu hobby networking group, Hobby News Live episode. David Baez, and I didn't really, as you can tell, plan to do this. I'm doing this all real quick on a whim here, but I think there's a damn good reason to do it. I'm calling it Hobby Black Monday. As we all kind of woke up this morning to what was some really terrible news on two very important fronts for all of us in the hobby. Um, I'll start right out of the gate with the news from PSA. Not a shock to a lot of us, as Rumorville was really out there already about price increases, and you know the the long and short is we all knew something was coming. We just didn't know what, how much. I mean, maybe some people did know, but for the majority of us just knew there was an increase coming. But the news today is official. The increase is in, and it represents for slabs a 60% markup on what we were paying just yesterday on slabs. So your value, if you're a silver club member or gold or platinum for that matter, your 20 card bulk submissions have gone up from $12 all the way up to $20 a card. Um, Additionally, obviously, with each tier, there was some significant growth as well. So that is kind of what's going on there. Big numbers that shocked everybody. And on top of that, we also had some big growth on the pack subs. The pack subs went, from 20 to $25 on modern, and also up to $50 on vintage on anything over $250. Again, doesn't sound like a lot. It's about a 40% markup, but I'm sorry, not 40% markup, but from the original price it is, right? Because it was just $16 a couple of months ago. So again, huge numbers coming in on the PSA front. And guys, I know there's mixed reviews on this whole thing, but the fact of the matter remains that it's really, to me, frustrating to see what's going on. Large part because I think the hobby is putting a big squeeze on your traditional collector, and it's really disheartening. I honestly think it's disheartening to see that. Enough for me to do this episode, and bear with me as I ask one of my kids to bring my charger in for my laptop here. But I think the numbers were already at a high level. To go to the next level is you're basically just saying we only want the investors. We don't care about the conventional, and that to me really sucks. Now I understand that they have a crazy backlog, and the high end collectors are very frustrated. I get it. I really get it. All right, I collect high end, so I get it. I have 78s. I do these are pricey, cellos. These are pricey packs, and I don't like waiting 10 months. But why am I going to take my friends, my brothers and sisters, if you will, in the hobby that are collecting 90 score, and they want, to get a pack with a Hall of Famer for their master set, and now they got to shell out top dollar for it? Or a collector that's on a limited budget that wants to join in on the madness and the fun of collecting with us and sharing their, what they grew up collecting. And because now something, that was only $10 a slab, it's cost $20 a slab, but the card's only worth a few dollars. Like, there has to be some sort of a middle ground here, in my opinion. And, I know it's a silly analogy, but like it's like saying like a storefront says, you know what, we're just gonna bring in all the premium product, like a supermarket, bring in the premium products, but the commodity stuff, we're just gonna get rid of it. We're just gonna make space for the premium stuff. We make more money there. I get it's a business 101, but you really shouldn't price your folks out that are an important part of the hobby, because eventually their products will go up too. But if you piss them off enough, they're going to move elsewhere. And that's my central point here on the PSA piece. You're going to push them away. When you say they get pushed away, they will go to another up and coming company, right? Some new player comes in. Now the door has been busted wide open for frustrated folks like myself and other hobby collectors to say, you know what, let me give them a shot, right? That could happen now, not so much before. I think they really put themselves in this position where we're really going to start reconsidering this. So I think ultimately they've put themselves in this position of where they frustrated collectors like us, and we're gonna start looking elsewhere, honestly. And guys, I see the comments coming in here, and thanks for that. Again, give me 1 second because this was so impromptu. I didn't get my charger. Um, and all right, sorry guys. So again, getting back to the point, the whole thing with this the pack submissions to me is going to make a major dent in the hobby. And the other piece I was going to touch on real quick before I get into some other points is eBay bucks. That was the other big news that came out this morning, is that eBay bucks are no longer a thing for outside of the actual promotions, right? So that to me is major, major news as well, right? Because I'm gonna selfishly talk about me here, guys. I live in New Jersey, and in New Jersey, we pay quite a bit on sales tax for eBay. Now, it didn't really stop me from buying because if I really wanted something, I would still buy it anyway. But it was a nice breath of occasional breath of fresh air, excuse me, to be able to take a break of paying my 6 and 7% sale, 6 point something percent sales tax, in California where they pay even more, right? You get a breath of fresh air when you get this eBay Bucks promo and you kind of offset the taxes a little bit. Well, not anymore, right? I mean, first off, they say they're going to keep on doing their promos, but let's be real. All of us know that they've really dropped the promos down. They used to do it much more frequently, and now they barely do it, right? That's number one. And number two is the 1% clawed away a little bit at it, and that helps. Honestly, it totally, totally helps. So, to be in that position now where you don't have a little bit of breathing room, to me really, really sucks. I think, they want to say that they need to make their investors happy. Some good comments came into the post I made earlier. I get that, right? I know it's business 101. You need to make them happy. However, guys, very important detail, their business has grown exponentially, right? So, I mean, if you had X amount of posts of auctions, and now you have, you know, an increase of X% on your posts of buying and selling, well, yeah, you're making money hand over fist. Why do you have to take the 1% off on top of that? You're just, I mean, that's just like next level greed, in my opinion. So that's my two key takeaways here, guys. Give me like 30 seconds. I'm gonna put my laptop on the charger so I don't lose this. But bring your comments in. I'd love to hear what you have to say on this. Give me 1 second. All right. As you can tell, this was very impromptu. But yeah, I'm going to take a look here real quick at the comments. I do have some more info that I'd like to share with you guys. Yeah, I mean, look, you're seeing this. The traditional collector started becoming a thing of the past. These price increases are aimed at the rip and flip submitters. I can't agree more. Look, I get there's a financial element to this business, guys, and I will never, ever deny that. But this business, sorry, this hobby started with collectors. Okay. You push the collector out, then all you have is an asset. And I think that you need to find middle ground always. You can't just have one or the other. You know, the collectors built this, not the financial guys. Okay. So you push them out, you frustrate them, they can potentially even move on to another hobby. They just get upset and leave. You can't keep on increasing prices. You can't keep on upsetting your base. That's my one of my biggest points, and why, as you can tell, I'm quite upset about this, because what's to say they don't add another layer to this in the near future, right? Getting the financial piece so heavily involved in our hobby is creating, to me, a massive effect that can really hurt the hobby in the not so distant future. It can happen, and that's at first I thought that was crazy talk. Even when I would, hear myself say it, I'm like, man, that can't happen. But it's starting to look like it actually can, and that part to me is very scary. Um, some more comments here. I think we can understand price increase based on demand, but when service is so horrible and only getting worse, it's awfully hard to judge. Rex, you're spot on, man. I mean, add that layer to it. Very good point. You know, you have, to me, terrible turnaround times. And I get because of the backlog, especially with the modern, junk wax era, product that's coming in. People are saying, all right, they have millions and millions of cars sitting over there. But right now you're going to sit here and say we need to increase our prices, when you're giving your customers some terrible service. Why don't you take some of that money and invest it into continuously growing your business? Maybe make some temporary restrictions where saying, for the next 6 months, we're only going to take cards from this year up until this year. Once we get more employees in, once we get, things hammered down a little bit, we will start taking, let's say, 1990 and above later. That's a pill I can swallow. Just increasing prices is basically telling people that have a budget or have a different hobby focus, you know what? Screw you. And that's, again, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, guys, but clearly that's my take on this. Is they don't care about that group, and where I do. And I think that's such an important part of the business. I'm sorry, of this business, the hobby. It's a very important part of the hobby. So let me see what else you guys have here. That's funny. I don't know who that is. It says Facebook user, but funny. Uh, yeah, absolutely, Mark. Great point. I will never say investors are that you can't be in the hobby, but like I mentioned earlier, there needs to be middle ground. Okay, this was built on collectors. You don't push them out now because they're the money element of it is such a big factor now. You don't do that. You find middle ground. You don't take away certain pieces like buyback loyalty programs, which essentially is what eBay Bucks is, right? It's a loyalty program for guys like us that were building our master sets or building our base set or doing runs, right? Again, getting that breath of fresh air. 1%. Okay, 1% is a big deal when you buy a few $1,000s worth of cards to build out your set, especially when you have to pay 6, 7, 8% on taxes. All right. Taking a 1% break here and there was great. But to me, it's like it's nuts. It's nuts that now the focus is just on the flipper, and again, if I'm wrong, call me out. But these kind of moves make it crystal clear that PSA, and eBay are only interested now in the flippers. Only the folks that are grabbing cards, selling them, and all they care about is the financial piece. That to me just completely sucks. It really does. Yeah, Kurt. I mean, that's exactly it. I think it was the junk wax era collectors are taking the biggest hit here right now. To me, it's really hard for them to collect. It's going to continue to be hard for them to collect, now more so than ever. Because there was always a fine line even before these price increases. For somebody who, I don't know if Aaron's watching. I'm going to call him out a little bit when he was putting his Sandberg set together. Now, an '83 cello with Sandberg rookie showing, okay, that's worth it even now at this price because it's a Sandberg rookie, right? But when you're doing a Sandberg run, and he won a PSA award, by the way, for his awesome collection, you know, if he wants to send in a 1990 score with Sandberg showing, that's you got to start thinking twice about that now, right? Because I mean, the pack's only worth so much, right? Now, granted, a hardcore collector will still do it, but again, you're really kind of narrowing down your group now. I still think, and I'm always up to hearing ideas as to how PSA can create a more effective solution. My kind of shooting from the hip this morning solution was to put a temporary restriction on this as they continue to build their employee base to handle this demand. I think that's the solution. This increase and screw you is basically sending a message to a lot of us collectors loud and clear what their thoughts are on this. So yeah, I think a lot of us agree with Kurt's comments there. Um, I also think I mentioned it briefly earlier, but I'll restate it again. I think this is going to open a door to some of these other companies that are out there. I wasn't looking at them before, but I'm going to start taking the look now. And I also think that if somebody decides to go with an unopened, with the right people, of course, we always talk about it in my live episodes, about how important the people behind the grading are. But if you get the right people to pack grade with the reputation, I'm telling you right now, the CSG, the news about them getting into the slab world, if they decide to hedge heavily now on unopened packs, I promise you that I'm going to be considering it strongly now. I mean, $50 for my 78 cello. I mean, all right, I know it's worth more money now than ever, but man, $50 is still $50. It's a lot of money. It was $16 not too long ago. So 16 to 50 in this short time, it's a lot. It's a real tough pill to swallow, guys. And I think that a new authenticating service is, if there's anybody considering it, now is the time. Now is definitely the time to do it. Let me see a lot of comments rolling in. Thanks, guys, for the feedback. This is what this is all about. I want to hear what you guys have to say as well. And again, you don't have to necessarily agree with me. I always love an intelligent debate on this. If you think differently, I'm all ears, guys. Again, I this is just a knee-jerk reaction to it, and how I just thought. But it's not to say that maybe there's an element to this I didn't think about. So keep them coming. They know they are losing customers, but think increased fees will make up the loss revenue. Yeah, Greg, I mean, you're spot on. I think your comment from earlier, I agree with you. I think they're going to say, okay, we lose customers, but we gain money by just increasing prices. We'll get less volume, but more margin. Again, in my world, it happens all the time. There's certain retailers that have decided, we're only going to carry the premium stuff. We're not going to carry the commodity stuff. We're not going to put things on super sales or buy one get ones or anything like that, right? We're just going to focus on the premium, right? They only have like 25 to 35% of the customer base going into their stores, but they double the price of their product at offset. Everybody's happy. Then they have less employees in the store, so there's less overhead in the store, so they net crazy positive. That business model is in a lot of industries. I think it's a terrible business model personally, but again, I'm not judging. I think for PSA though, I think it's a terrible move because they have the market rather cornered right now, especially with unopened packs, and it's basically just sending a message to us that they just don't care, and that sucks. So when you have a lot of healthy competition, perhaps a different story, because then you could just kind of move on to a plan B. But there really isn't a plan B in the unopened world. And in the slab world, there are options, but nothing touches PSA right now. They truly, in the world of sports cards, have the market quite cornered. But like I mentioned earlier, I think they really left the door wide open for frustrated hobbyists like myself. Let's see what we've got here. Josh, this isn't going to stop Kurt from selling her. Yeah, Kurt will spend $100 on Herbex if you let him. Oh man, I wish one of the new grading companies would build a great registry. PSA is so much better than any of the others. Great point, Matthew. But again, it goes back to the fact that I think today they opened the doors wide open. I really think they did. And if any of these companies don't work quickly with this news now and try to pounce on this, they're crazy. They're crazy because a lot of us are starting to really consider it. And that says a lot because a lot of us have been quite loyal to the PSA side of things. And even eBay, for that matter, going back to the eBay piece. I know it's just 1%, guys. And maybe for some of my friends that live like in Florida, for instance, they don't have to deal with the crap that we have to deal with. But when you spend the amount of money in taxes for your hobby that we do, just to buy, that couple $100 pack, it dings you. It hurts, So now think about it. You're spending 7% on sales tax, and your eBay Bucks promo is 5%. I'm still spending 2% more than you in Florida or in one of the other tax-free states just to get the same exact card you have. So now you're going to take away the little 1% that we had and try to take our credit card to offset. Now I get that it works for some folks, but to me, it's just a massive slap in the face because that 1% to me represented a loyalty program. Loyalty programs are big. not just big from the financial side of it, but it also from the to me, like the let's call it the emotional side of it, right? Because it shows your customer that you truly care about them, that you're just not, like that you're actually giving something back to those that continuously use your site, right? Take that away and you're basically just saying F off. And I know that that message they sent, going back to what I said earlier, they said that they were going to do the 5% promos, but you know what? I'll believe it when I see it, because they have scaled back so much on eBay, Bucks promos. I promise you, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say I promise. I believe that they're going to continue to scale back on it. You know, I think we're going to probably see it maybe maybe 4 or 5 times a year, maybe 6 times a year tops now. Right. I hope I'm wrong. And I'll be the first to raise my hand and say, you know what, everything's still business as usual. But again, I'll believe it when I see it. As of right now, I think they're scaling back on it. They had to put an element of positive in an email. You don't just sit there and say, dear eBay user, F you, sincerely eBay. They're not going to do that. They're going to say, dear eBay user, F you, but we still are going to give you this. Thanks. Right. Now you kind of walk away, with that hope that you're going to still get what you get. But let's talk 3 and 6 months from now. Let's see how happy everybody is. Let's see how many $5 deals, 5% deals, excuse me, we get. And again, if I'm wrong, I'll raise my hand. But I'm rarely a skeptic. This one, I'm being a skeptic. I think that they just had to put an element of positive vibe in that email, so they wrote that talking about their silly credit card and that was just a way to break the bad news with a little layer of good news. That's, again, business 101. So let's see what other comments we have here, guys. Bear with me a second. Yeah, if you want to assess the situation fairly, you have to acknowledge the BBCE's shortcomings in this venture, along with PSA. Aaron, if you want to kind of put another layer onto that, if you don't mind elaborating on that a little bit, I'd be happy to talk about that piece as well. If you mean by the shortcomings, you're talking about like the wait times and the logistics piece. I think that's what you're aiming at there. Yeah, I get it. On the unopened part, BBCE definitely has, let's call it a bottleneck, that bottleneck where it gets there, and there's just so much, going on over there that they can't keep up. So they increase prices to kind of offset that demand. I totally understand that piece. But again, I think the solution, the temporary solution at that, was to kind of put out something and saying that they're not going to accept certain, years of product for the time being, for a short time period. Let's call it 6 months or whatever, and if somebody submits it, it's going to go on hold, which they really even shouldn't, because that's just going to fill up their vault, right? But, maybe not that piece, but at bare minimum, they can say, we're not going to accept anything from this year to this year until, we can kind of get above water again, not just increase prices, and just say, we don't, basically what they're saying is that we don't want it. That to me is wrong. And that also gives them the opportunity to work out maybe something with BBCE, and to try to figure out an effective solution. Maybe they work with BBCE only for packs and authentication for a certain year, right? Once you get into the different wax pack variations, the more tamper-proof ones, 89 upper decks and above, you maybe bring that in-house, right? And just use people in-house for that, because and Steve can give them a 101 on what to look for in terms of authentication there, and keep the vintage, the high-end stuff going with this crazy logistical pattern that's currently out there. Again, which I still think won't last forever, as mentioned in the live episode with JB and Mike and Kurt. But at least for the time being, that's the solution, right? So, Bill Adair, having one person being the only authenticator in his hobby business is nuts. But totally agree, Bill. Totally agree. Kind of what I was just saying before. I think there's if they take the segment and maybe work just at PSA, add additional people, reputable people, of course, that's probably another solution to this whole thing. Again, not to lose focus of this whole piece, the price increase is what really, really infuriates me in this whole thing. as the budget collector is being priced out. I don't want to see the budget collector go away. But if I was a budget only collector, and I still buy a lot of budget stuff, I mean, I'm the first one to raise my hand and say I have 91 Fleer. I buy it, because I grew up with it and I enjoy it, right? But if I land a Pudge rook, if I have a Pudge rookie 91 Fleer, am I going to think twice about sending it in now? Yeah. I mean, it was $12 and now it's 20. The card's probably worth 20 and a 9. I mean, I haven't checked the prices lately. Everything changes by the day, but let's just assume that's what it's worth. I mean, damn, I got to think twice about that now, you know? And it's, I don't know. To me, it's just there's got to be a better way. There really has to be a better way, guys. Yeah, Josh. I mean, I still buy on eBay. But again, what I'll say to that is I've been more selective ever since the taxes kicked in, and I'm not ashamed to admit on certain things I've just I just shied away. I just said, you know what, it's this, you know, I'm going to snipe at this amount, but it's probably 5% less than what my friend in Florida might be sniping it for because he has the break of not having to pay 6% taxes on it, right? Or 7% or 8% taxes on it, right? Where RVP Kurt, you're listening. We need a loyalty program for you, buddy. All right, let me keep on going here, guys. Thanks for all the comments. Um, yeah, I wouldn't be shocked, Matthew. At this point, just like the market's so crazy volatile right now, I think everybody else is going to probably do the same. I mean, PSA has had 2 price increases in a very short time period. We would typically see this in much larger intervals, and the percentage growth was a lot less. Now you're talking about these insane increases. Um, and guys, I mean, if I said it earlier and I'll say it again, I know some folks are a fan of this because now their high end stuff will get more love and quicker turnaround times. But I have to tell you, we really should not be pushing our brothers and sisters in the junk wax world out, by just price smoking them out. That doesn't make sense, guys. This is a hobby first. This is about collectors. Why are you going to tell collectors if they love preserving something that's near and dear to them? Why should they have to pay more to slab it than what the pack might be worth? I mean, I think, yeah, there's a middle ground. You don't want to send everything in, but I mean, I think they already had a price point that was up there. And to do 40 and 60% increases and doubling, I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. And again, I think it's going to go up again in the near future. Now that there's, large investment groups involved, most of them which don't know much about the hobby or could care less about the hobby element of this, about the history behind it, the stuff that we love, the stuff that I love about this hobby. They're not going to care about that. What they care about is the spreadsheet showing the percent increases, in one quarter, in 1 year, right? What's it bringing back to their investor group? You're turning the hobby into a damn spreadsheet, and that pisses me off. The spreadsheet was always there. I get it, but there was that fine line, and we're losing the line. It's all being skewed to one side with these type of insane price increases. Gradual because of inflation. I'm not going to get into economics. I'm an economic nerd. I love it. But look, gradual because of just, cost of living and all that. I get it. You can't justify 60%. I'm sorry. You can't. You cannot justify 60% increase. It's ridiculous that anybody tries to justify that. And if you're happy paying 60% more because you're muscling other, collectors out, think twice about that. And I don't want to get into an argument or debate, but think twice about that. Because you could have very well been on the other side of that fence, you know? And I when I'm thinking hobby, I'm thinking every hobbyist here, right? There's some things I don't collect, but I look on the group and I see people really enjoy collecting it. I love that. Power to them, you know? But you're basically telling them to F off when you do something like this. And that to me is this is what's wrong. Tell them to wait, put a temporary restriction on it, as they can get their head above water. That's something we can all respect. But don't just increase prices and say, go somewhere else. Because you know what? They will. And when you realize the error of your ways, if that other company like the CSG of the world starts giving a value price to these folks and they've developed a reputation, when you start bringing your prices back down to earth and say, hey, please come back, they're probably going to tell you to F off after that. Or at least I would. So again, you can probably hear the passion in my voice. I'm pretty upset about this. I'll keep on moving down the comments, guys. There could easily be another authenticator to authenticate junk error. Yeah, that's exactly right, Kurt. That's what I was touching on there. I think this is the door that's being opened right now. It's going to be an interesting day in the hobby for sure. A lot of conversations are going to be had. Yeah, Josh, you're spot on. I mean, you know, my friends in the world of comics, my friends in the world of you know, coins. I dabble in coins as well. You know, you not so much graded, but you know, I've seen enough to know that you know, a lot of hobbies are being impacted not just by the value of their collection, but also by the value of you know, being you know, the grading and the piece behind the scenes, right, to get their product sold, you know, on eBay or whatever in this case. So everybody's getting impacted. Very good point. So I'm that traditional collector. Started at 8, stopped at 18, started again at 37. But my reboot has only lasted a year. The flipping the prices of packs and the rest. It's been a huge let. You know, thank you for putting that comment in, Ian. You know, I haven't, you know, talked to too many folks like yourself, but I know I mean, we're a huge base. I know we're out there, and I'm trying to, for the best of my ability, be the voice, right? You know, of the collector in this whole thing, because I think they often get overlooked. And but here's a great example, guys. You know, whoever's still watching right now, it's a great example. I mean, you're taking folks that are true collectors and you're pushing them out, and that's ridiculous. It's silly. You know, I mean, I haven't seen any comments regarding my idea of like the temporary restriction, but I'm curious what people think about that. Maybe I haven't gotten to those comments yet, but you know, is that the fair ground? Is there another solution? You know, let's think about it, right? Because I think, you know, the price increase is probably, when you look at the list, right, of ideas, that's the worst one, because that makes it crystal clear that you only care about the financial element of this hobby. And that is wrong, in my opinion. Exact sec registry. Yeah, he's right. You know, Michael, exactly. You know, one of the elements of this hobby, right, going back to the collector, you know, the PSA demand many years ago started heavily on the set registries, you know, putting together those beautiful, whether it was unopened, right, whether it was your player. You know, I started, and you know, getting, when I got really into the hobby, when I, you know, call it into my adult years, building the Roberto Clemente master set. And there were things that I would never think about buying before, you know, like the 62 coin and the oddball stuff, right? But I bought it because I wanted to create the set. Um, so going back to more in the junk wax era and some of that, right? You know, I don't think I would be, if I was building a set now, I would probably look the other way to completing that set, because do I want to shell out, you know, 40 bucks, you know, 20 bucks just to encapsulate a card or a pack, 50 bucks, you know, for some oddball 1979 pack that might have only cost me 10 bucks, you know, just to, I don't know, you know, I mean, I'm throwing random examples, but my point is, you know, like there's stuff out there that doesn't have a deep value to it, but it means a lot to the collector. And you're basically telling them, screw you. Even if the collector's willing to wait, you know, wait the 10 months a year because they want that in their set. Now you're basically saying, no, screw you, pay me. You know, that I don't know. Let me move on here. Then when the rip and flip is gone, no one's going to pay. Yeah, Corey, exactly. You know, it's again, they leave the door wide open. What I said earlier, I think another group will gobble some segments of this hobby, and when PSA realizes the errors of their ways, it may be too late. They might say, we're good over here. And let me tell you something, and a friend of mine, I don't know if he's watching, you know, Dan, he's, you know, we've had a lot of offline conversation about this. And he's a big fan of CSG because he plays a lot in the world of comics. And I personally feel that in the world of sports cars, they have a long way to go. But with news like today, I really think that they've kind of hit the, they've left the door wide open for them because some of these other companies, look, SGC and obviously Beckett are big players, but CSG's they're kind of like that sleeping giant right now. These guys are big. They're huge in the world of comic and coins. They have very deep pockets. And so they may not have the sports card reputation, but can they attain a quick sports card reputation? Well, hell yeah, you can piggyback off their stellar comic book reputation and their stellar coin reputation, right? Not that hard, especially when you upset your collector base. Now you're really going to give them a chance, you know? Then you got SGC that's probably looking at this, and I know they have their issues, and so does Beckett for that matter. But now they're sitting themselves saying, whoa, wait a minute, I think PSA just gave us an opportunity here to, look into, being a little bit more nimble or maybe focusing on a certain segment of the hobby, giving more deals to ultra modern, for instance, and Beckett, because a lot of the ultra modern folks gravitate toward Beckett, and maybe like the tobacco era card and more, some of the other cards, SGC might say, let's put a heavy focus in on that. Everybody knows they're not going to take the whole market by storm, but can they make dents now with PSA being ultra greedy? Yeah, I think so. I really do. Kerr's absolutely right. PSA doesn't want a great junk packs. They'll send them to Steve, send there 6-12 months, send them back to the customer claiming they don't have the holders stand. Yeah, Kyle, I mean, I could tell you, I sent in, and don't laugh, but I did. I sent in one of my last submissions a while back, some Tops Big, right? And just a couple that I had with, it was an interesting one, actually. It was a series 1 with Roger Clemens showing, but it was wrapped from Tops with a series 2 wrap. And because I like wacky stuff like that, I sent it in. All right. It was just for a PC. I sent it in. Well, they claimed that it was altered. Now, everybody that's watching this knows that no one would waste their time altering anything Tops Big, right? It's not very valuable, right? But it was an 88 in a different wrapper from the factory. I thought that's cool. I still have it. I'll show it in a future episode. Again, the cool element to it was wrapped incorrectly at the factory. There's no way that thing was resealed. It came from the factory that way. But because they probably just saw it and they're like, check, I'm too busy, check, it got labeled altered. It's crap. It's BS. I'd rather wait 2 years and I've gotten it encapsulated, but I don't have a horse in that race to influence that. So I gambled and I lost. Let's move on here. As much as I love collecting players that note the players showing, if that turns around, that's a good point. It's what stops me from telling the consumer, right, that this pack has that player showing, and I could just look, if it creates efficiency and it keeps the collector happy, there is middle ground. That's a potential middle ground. I wouldn't be like too happy with that, but I mean, I wouldn't stop, like I am now, for instance, with some packs because of these price increases. All right, let's move on here. Yeah, Josh, you're spot on. There's going to be a lot of upset people at the National this year. And who knows what price increase would happen in the next few months before the National for their in-person service. I don't recall seeing if that number changed today, to be honest with you, because I've never done it. If somebody wants to chime in on that, go for it. But if their in-person service goes up as well, the pitchforks will definitely be out. Let's see what else we've got here. I'm not sure they don't care. They can't handle a man. I guess we'll have to see if they lower prices when they ever get caught up. Yeah, perhaps, Michael. I just think there was a better way to do this. I'm a fan of transparency. We all know that they can't keep up with the demand. We're not stupid. A lot of us have been in this a long time. We saw the booms in the 90s as a teenager. I saw the 90s booms. I was collecting then, and I was already sending stuff to PSA then. So I mean, I saw that. I know I get it. But man, I'd rather have gotten a letter saying, stop sending these in from this date indefinitely or until this date, and we will revisit the topic later. We just can't handle the demand. That is much more respectable than saying pay double. And because the tradition, the flipper doesn't care about paying double because they're just going to grab it and sell it, you know, they don't care, right? But the collector kind of does because they're on a budget. And that to me was just wrong. They're actually deliberately stifling the market and enthusiasm to dissuade people from submitting rather than evolving and expanding a service to meet demand. This is Aaron, spot on and very, very well said. I my words were a little bit more New Yorker and passionate, but essentially that's the message I'm trying to convey as well here, buddy. Is they need to work on evolution and expansion, and never shutting your hobby base down because we're not dumb. We see what's going on here, and that'll essentially make us gravitate toward looking at other players in this game. And there are look in the slabs. There's obviously plenty of options, and in the world of packs and cellos, that door is so open right now. God, I think next week if somebody came out that has the provenance to prove that they have the right people checking these packs out, then yeah, you're I don't know. To me, it would be an easy dent in their business, because it's all about the graders, as we've mentioned in our live episodes. If we believe in the graders, the certain, and obviously it's a reputable company like like the ones that are some of the ones that are out there. A lot of us would dip our toe in the water. Now, granted, we're not going to go out of the gate and just give everything to them, but we would absolutely dip our toe in the water. Now more so because of this frustration that we all have. Agreed, Jeremy. I think another company will, for sure. Where are we? I want to make sure I don't ignore any comments here. Got a lot of good stuff coming in, guys. Bear with me a second. All right. So let's keep on going here. Dime chasers are causing it. PSA cave to them. They'll pay anything to flip. Yeah, Ronald, I think that's a big piece of this for sure. I totally agree with you. PSA was like Walmart in the 90s or Amazon last 15 years. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it says something, guys. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm some business guru or anything, but I think I'm well versed enough to be able to make this comment. To not see the writing on the wall in terms of the growth and growth potential of this industry, both for the collector and the person that's in this for the financial piece, and for those that are in between. To have not made the proactive decisions to put your business in a better place before some of this growth says a lot about the business itself. I mean, if I'm scoping a business and I'm looking at their potential, I mean, one of the things I'm going to be looking at is obviously their decisions at the executive level. And if you're sitting there saying, screw it, we have the market cornered, let's not make any major investments. And now that the boom is there, now we're getting all these letters from them saying we're doing everything to grow, blah blah. Well, where were you like 3 years ago? I mean, this is granted the boom now is crazy, but the boom was there a couple years ago too. What were you doing then? So I don't know. To me, I don't think they were proactive enough personally. But again, I'm not trying to knock the lion here. It's just my 2 cents. There's probably a lot that I don't know about that might have factored into that equation. But again, just my 2 cents. If they have a 40% decrease, they're still making the same money. Yeah, you're right, Josh. Yep, they did. And now they seem to not care. As far as the eBay and hobby, eBay does not drive the hobby now. eBay bucks do not make me buy a product. 9% sales tax that happened in July makes it another negative cost to buy a card there. That's why Facebook groups are booming. That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, I can only speak to me, to my piece. I still use eBay. Some of the stuff I want to buy are nichier, harder to find stuff. And an outlet like eBay still proves to be one of the better places to find this stuff. And as a result, I still do use them. But the damn sales tax is a thorn in my side. It really is. I don't know how many times I probably lost out to somebody in Florida because they don't have to deal with. I mean, think about it. I mean, that's you know, it's not so much of an impact if I overpay on something that's like $20, $50 maybe. But if I'm going for like a $500 to $1,000 item, but I got to go 8% above whatever the person from Florida is paying for it because they get the tax break. I mean, yeah, that hurts. I mean, I got to scale back for sure. Guys, thanks for chiming in. I know it's a Monday morning, and I got luckily I had late meetings today, so I was able to get this in early. I appreciate all the great insight here, guys, and I'll keep this going as long as I can until I have to get into my actual paying job here in a little bit. So, Rex, SGC made this move months ago. They basically made two service levels: $100 per card for 1 to 2 day, $15 a card if you want to wait to current turn times, which would be 60 to 70 business days. Last week I heard they cut turn times in half to more reasonable 25. That's great insight, Rex, and good for them. It's smart, and I think that they would. If I had to say right now, who's going to be one of the biggest beneficiaries to the frustrated collector? SGC. They already were before the other price increases. I saw a lot of groups saying we're going SGC, we're going, and power to them. They've been around forever. They were mostly a tobacco era, and pre-war type of niche. I would say, I mean, they always dabbled in everything, but where most of the collectors that would gravitate to SGC, the slabs, the black border, and it just really made the tobacco cards pop. And I really thought it was great too. But yeah, to your point, the evolution of things now, they were smart, readjusting a little bit. And yeah, I've seen a lot of people bring their modern and the post 80s era cards to them now. And I think more so now. Yeah, flipping is at an all-time high, and I think that's what's causing these shakeups at eBay and PSA. I think that's the biggest influence. Jeremy, I think they do, but I don't. I think now again the door's open. Door's open. So let's see in 6 to 12 months how that pans out when you have a sleeping giant with excuse me, CSG that's out there and I'm sure watching this. They can really make an impact here. My stack of Barry Bonds inserts and refractors I need graded for my registry are staying in my basement for a long time now. Yes. See, this is what pisses. I'm sorry, guys. This is the kind of stuff that pisses me off. Matthew has an awesome set. It's something that he likes to collect, and there you go. It's from the horse's mouth, and there's many examples like this, right? So I know some folks don't care. Guys like me do. All right, because I'm a collector first. There is a dotted line of the financial. It's stupid for anybody to deny that. But I'm a collector first, and I hate hearing and seeing things like this, because the collector is the person that should be the last person to be muscled out of this hobby. Because if you leave the financial piece only in the hobby, the flippers only in the hobby, and guess what? It's like any other, I hate to say it, right? A lot of these folks are like locusts, man. They come in, they feed, and they're gone. And who's left, right? You got the poor folks that are holding the bag that bought on the high, poor guy, poor folks. And then you got us collectors that start looking back at the destroyed field and say, do I get back in this? Do I not? We start talking to each other, that's what's going to be left, and sorry to be so dramatic, but I'm telling you, there's a lot more folks like Matthew out there, that are really thinking twice about things as a result of this. Grading is a business. As long as they have too much demand to handle, they can charge a premium. It emphasizes the need to only grade very strong cards, nothing weak. Again, I'm not against, look, I get that there's, the frustration on the high-end collector having to wait so long because of the flooding of the market. There's a better solution than just muscling out the collector, is my point. right? I sympathize, and like I said, I'm part of that as well. I mean, I collect 91 Fleer, but I also collect 78, unopened, 75 unopened. All right, last time I checked, that's worth a lot of money, but it's I can't stand that folks are getting muscled out. If I know we can, with some folks we can agree to disagree, but I truly do get your point. I just think there's a better solution. That's all I'm trying to say. Aaron, there is no greater potential for the growth of graded and open than in junk era products. PSA and BBC are spitting in the face that. Great point. And who better to say it, right? And Aaron, me and Aaron, we're going to be on an episode this Friday talking exactly about a live episode about the junk wax era. Aaron is was, and I'm sure continues to be neck deep in it. He knows, as a collector, as a PSA award-winning collector, the struggles that it takes, right, to put this together. Financially, it's tough. It's tough to sit there and say, because there's so many variations too in the junk wax era. When you're trying to put a master set together in 1990, there's so many different versions of a pack. Will Aaron think twice about submitting, $25 slabs? Yeah. I mean, when it was 14, 16 bucks, okay, but it adds up, and it adds up damn quick. I'd much rather hear the news of somebody telling me to hold off for a little while until they can get their head above water. The solution to me is increasing your employee count. That's it. Or creating AI, or creating more efficiencies. Let's use more general terms, business terms here. Efficiencies to make the entire base happy. Okay? You don't just muscle people out. You as a business, find a way to make everyone happy. I'm not sure who this is, but to share, YouTube, you can go out on YouTube and share that link. Kurt's Ripping Vintage, you can do that as well. I also put it on Vintage Wax and Packs. There's a few options, whoever this is, in terms of sharing the link, and I appreciate the support. Guys, if you hit the like and subscribe on YouTube, greatly appreciate it. Sorry for the shameless plug, but it really obviously does help in growing the network. I appreciate that. Rex, they have increased hiring across. They have increased hiring across the board, but with all these massive subs of breaks coming in, it's not even close to enough. Yeah, Rex. I mean, it goes back to what I was saying before. I mean, I don't know if these comments are. I know they're kind of old right now. I'm really trying to keep up here. There's just so much coming in. But the fact remains, I think the they didn't think about this as long term as they should have, and they got caught, let's say, in this crazy crossroad, and their decision to take this angle is my issue, and will continue to be my issue. Companies issue endless sets with manufacturers' relics and autos from players who have very little shot at making it, or forcing them. That's a really good point, Matt. The super modern era, the ultra speculator. Look, when Pete Alonso hits a bunch of home runs his rookie year, now everybody's flooding the market with Pete Alonso cards. Dude's 1 year in. That could be part of it too. Again, I go back to my point. I don't want to muscle anybody out. If they're a collector, especially, I don't want to muscle them out. I think that they have their place in this like anyone else. But yeah, for those that are speculating and sending 150 Pete Alonsos in, to try to flip, 149 of them, maybe they need to scale it back a little bit, for sure. Normally pack rating and even box rating is needed. No offense to anyone that is involved now, but I think it should be I think it should be off on its own. Yeah, no arguments here. We talked about it on Friday, as a matter of fact. SGC's picking it up. Fair point. I think you're right, man. I think that, and the comment I made earlier about CSG being a sleeping giant that just started, I think they're the two biggest beneficiaries, I think, right now. I think Beckett really needs to get their act together, and quick, man. There's a lot of Beckett fans out there that are getting really, really frustrated with them as well. So if they can get their act together, of course, they would be a continued market share in the world of slabs. Let's see what else we got here, guys. I'm going to try to speed it up as best I can. I know comments, I'm responding to them in order. So if you're looking at comments from 30 minutes ago, it's literally because I have so many coming in. So I'm trying to be as fair as I can here and catch everything, but I'll go quicker. We need a company to start authenticating packs. No grade needed. Yeah, we touched on this bill in the live episode. I'm not against it. I kind of like the grade, but if it means more efficiency, I'll raise my hand and say, okay, I'm okay with that. That's all about middle ground, and it shows that you still care about the collector. Finding middle ground is key. I moved to SGC, but they increased rates too. Still, SGC is a tough grade. Yeah, yeah, we were talking about that too on the Friday episode. I'm gonna call you DM because I don't know, but we did. We talked about that in the Friday episode. That Beckon and SGC graders are probably the toughest in the market, and they did increase rates, but I think they did some things that really had collectors gravitate to them, and more so now with PSA's recent actions. So. So yeah, a lot of people agree with Bill. I agree. Raise price, not a good move. Yeah, guys, keep them. Yeah, guys, I see the comments for the links. The way to share again, Facebook, go on there. There's a little three dots. You click, you can share that. Kurt's ripping vintage packs page. You can share that on Vintage Wax and Packs group. You can also be able to share that link. My group, it's a private group, so you can't. That's the only place you can't. But if you go into public groups, you can absolutely share those links, no problem. All right. Hey, Hawk, good to see you, buddy. Companies are just concerned about the buck. If some customers don't grade anymore from higher costs, the companies benefit by doing less work for nearly double the grading fees. Yeah, yeah, we touched on that earlier, and you're spot on. I mean, again, I know the frustration's coming out today for me, but there is a better solution out there, and they really should listen to us, right? I mean, they should be in these if they're not already. Listen to these, watch videos like this, and whoever else posts. I'm sure my buddy Brandon is going to have Stewart's going to have an opinion on this. Maybe share something with us. He's going to be on my episode Friday as well. Look, listen to us. We're veteran collectors. We've been down this road before. Hear us out. I threw that idea out there. Not the best, but not the worst. Put a temporary restriction on certain packs. On certain genres, whatever. You want to say non-sports, you got to hold off from this year to this year. Baseball, you got to hold off from this year to this year. All right, I'll put it away. I'll stash them and wait for the green light as you get more graders in, or as you find an efficiency to be able to handle some of this stuff. Maybe you just focus on tamper-evident packs that are the easier packs to grade, right? And say any tamper-evident pack, hold off for now, while you maybe bring those in-house and keep the vintage, the wax and the cellos, going to Steve still. I'm sure Steve won't mind that. He's got so much going on right now. I'm sure he wouldn't mind that. So anyway, let's move on here, guys. eBay feels we need them, we don't. Yeah, look, that eBay piece I mentioned earlier as well in this Black Monday in the hobby is, I'm upset at both, but I'm especially upset with the eBay piece because there was no need to do that. Those guys are making money hand over fist. I mean, on look how many listings there are now. A lot of you guys do searches like I do. When you search for a certain player or collector, let's say before you get 100, 150 searches, now you're getting 300, 400, 500 on a player. It's whatever that search was before, fast forward to today, and it's exponentially higher. Okay, so you're telling me with their 10% roughly, let's use round numbers here, 10% fees and PayPal making their 3.5 on top of that, that these companies aren't happy with this exponential growth, that they have to go and take the tiny bone that they were throwing at us with 1%. They have to take it away from us. And we all know the reason why. They're trimming, it's just to increase the bottom line for their investors, man. I mean, give me a break, man. You got to take 1% away from us, like it's crazy. So it's loyalty programs to me are most, and even in my industry, my 9 to 5, it's one of the most important pieces of our business, guys. You have to show that you care about your employee, that your customers. And go back to what I said earlier for those that are just tuning in now. They said, they put this little paragraph in there saying, oh, but we're not getting rid of the 5%. No, believe it when I see it, because they've already scaled back on it. They used to do it like every couple of weeks. Now it's every couple months sometimes. You know, I believe when I see it, but I think they're scaling back, guys. Yeah, yeah. You know, card shows. That's probably going to be which this something like this might amplify things at the national even more than we already predicted or talked about on the Friday episode. Moving on here quickly, guys. To keep prices reasonable, all PSA has to do is let's hire a pack authenticator instead of shipping every order received. It would also cut down on time. Yeah, Kyle. I mean, I'm telling you, if they segmented something that's easier to teach, like modern tamper-proof type, that takes a share of the workload off Steve. You know, 89 upper deck's a lot easier to grade than an 83 tops wax pack for sure. I mean, I don't think anybody would argue that. So, you know, what about flying Steve out and doing training, you know, to a couple of veteran grader, back graders in house, and anything that fits a certain criteria that Steve is willing to pass off or whatever the arrangement they have, leave that there and send the rest to Steve. You know, as you work out, you know, the evolution of this hobby and putting in more efficient methods of keeping us collectors happy. Prices some folks are spending on items before grading, et cetera, is already eating into the value of items once graded. It is not really feasible to grade items. Yeah, Kevin, there's a lot of items that fit that your comment there. And now with this increase, list just grew a hell of a lot more. I know I have a lot of stuff that, you know, I mean, I got a lot of stuff out because of the rumors. I didn't know what was going to be impacted, but I did send some stuff in this weekend, you know, before this. But I got to tell you, whatever I didn't send is not going out. Not now. I mean, and who knows when. So, guys, doing my best to catch up here. I know there's a lot of comments. I'm about comments from about 9:55 a.m. right now. eBay used to give us a small sum of 500 free listings every month or so. That, yeah, that's right. That's gone as well. I mean, this is just crazy. With PSA going private, they have no shareholders to answer to now. It's all about ROI. Yeah, that was my biggest concern. That when I saw this happen, you know, that this whole thing with getting this investment group involved, you know, how this was going to really skew things to the financial piece. Which again, I'll repeat, always a dotted line. Not stupid. I know it's there, but God, man, did you just take the priority and shifted it way past the collector and just into the financial element of it? That part sucks. That really sucks. eBay refund fellow member, not to mention names, for charging sellers commission fees on taxes and shipping. Outside attorney involved. Wow, that's crazy. I did not know that. Overall, I think today confirms an industry-wide failure to adjust to the explosion of the hot. Paul, spot on. That is one of the points, and that's one of my biggest motivations to do this live episode right now on a whim like this, was to call out the fact that I think that they screwed up. They screwed up, and they're basically telling the collector, we don't care. You know, this was just, to me, I like to call it a spreadsheet motivated decision. And anytime you look at a business only from a spreadsheet, they tend to fail in the long term. You take the human element out of anything, and you don't factor that into the equation, we will eventually notice, especially in a hobby like this that has a big human element to it. Right? Anything that's collector based, you're crazy enough to just look at financials and not factor in the human element of it, you are crazy. And you will notice that in the years to come. The budget collectors will buy raw. Every level of business has buyers who will buy it. Yeah, you know, yeah. I mean, it's basically kind of like a shift, you know. You know, it's not to say that people will stop collecting. It's people will stop using PSA, suppose, you know, which again, that pisses me off. They didn't have to do that. You know, because PSA set registries, I think, will take a massive hit as a result. Budget collectors have been priced out for a while. Buying power has been drastically decreased. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that's crazy. 875 in Louisiana. See, Louisiana, your neighbors a couple states away are paying zero in Florida. You know, you put in you put in a bid for an item that's maybe fair market value $100, and they have about a $9 wiggle room on you to get that item. So that's you know, that's where the eBay bucks was a help. It really was a help. I only saw that as a buffer. I didn't see that as any savings or any ability to buy something for free. It was just my way of justifying a purchase I wanted to make, knowing that I was getting a little cash back. Spending 50 on eBay after tax and the fees were 930. Yeah, yeah, Chris. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that just really frustrates me, especially seeing them take away the one tiny carrot they were dangling for us. So, the big question: how long can we keep taxes off Facebook? That's a good question, Rex. You know that they're probably looking at that. Um, it's only a matter of time. You're absolutely right. We're gonna get hit there as well. I wonder what this will do to the boom. Will it hurt? Joe, I think it will. I think it will. I think there will be a ding. I think a lot of people will reshift their focus. I think some comments like made earlier about the raw element of it being more popular now. There's going to be a lot of like roaches when the lights turn on, a lot of scattering going on. Where everybody lands or the majority lands, let's see. But certainly, I think the hobby today has been impacted by today's news. Agreed, Hawk. Totally agree. Definitely prevent a lot of people. Yep, it will prevent. That's for sure. Moving down the list here, guys. I'm playing catch up as quickly as I can. Let me try to bear with me a second. I'm just putting up some more comments here. If you're Steve Hart, you hold all the cards, no pun intended, in the next contract negotiation. If SGC or Beckett were smart, they'd, Rex, solid comment, man. You look at who's the anchor here. It stops and starts with Steve in our world of unopened. So you're spot on with that comment. Be curious to see what happens. Let's see what we have here. Oh yeah, well, third party. I mean, who knows what these other, it's interesting. Um, Here's some more comments I think that alludes to what my point is, guys. I'm priced out at this point. I'll wait on my subs for everything, then look at the hobby after that. This is what I'm worried about, guys. I know I'm beating on a dead horse, but before I end this live broadcast, and I want to make it clear, guys, there are collectors, a ton of collectors still out there, and news like today really destroys it's disheartening for collectors that are really trying to find creative ways to keep within a budget. Okay. High end, they're not worried. And I get it, because it's high end. But for a budget collector, for a junk wax era collector, for a PSA set registry collector, man, you've just made things really difficult for them right now. And like I said, that really pisses me off because that's not what this hobby's about. There's, to me, you're muscling the collector out, and that's just rough. Put liquor in the ice cream, charge more for the shot. Yeah, the companies. Oh, well, yeah, there's the international element of it too. That's a great point, and it segues into what we're talking about here. There's a cost piece to this whole thing, and thank you, Antonio, for the comment. Like we probably would have a larger base, right, if there was some cost efficiencies, right? But yeah, that's a whole other element to it that goes to the central point. You bring the prices too high, there's a threshold, and people will back off. All right, let's see what we have here. Traditional collectors of my generation were used to paying 25 cents for a pack. Yes, inflation happens, but a pack of 4 cards can reach upwards of $40. That's not helping out the hobby. It's taking away from the most important age group for the hobby to flourish. Chris, great comment. True. True. There's not more I can add. That is true. You're pricing out a lot of folks, and I didn't even get into the youth. I'm glad you just did. You know, that's a whole other. I mean, we could do a whole other live episode on how the youth is priced out. Just go to your friggin' local Target the day that there is a launch of a new product. And tell me how some 8-year-old or 10-year-old kid's gonna get on a line that looks like Black Friday at Best Buy for a freaking for an HD TV, right? To get a box of Panini or Tops Chrome or whatever, right? I mean, come on, are you serious? To find that same box on Facebook that was $20 in the store, going for $60 on Facebook. Now I know some people will argue that, hey, it's capitalism at its best, it's supply and demand. All right, yeah, I get it. But you know what? You are suffocating an entire generation of collectors, kids, idolize certain players. I want to feel that rush that we did as a kid to open up a pack and land that Mike Trout or land that favorite player on their team. It's going to cost their parents $60 to buy a box to make that happen. Where the store was only charging a modest $20 for that box. All right, think about that for a minute. That's what's going. That's a whole other element. I didn't mean to get too into the weeds on that, but Chris, great comment. No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't be able to submit your 2020 common for your PC at this time. Why pay 15, $20 for 50-cent card? Yeah, Chris. I mean, I'm not arguing that at all. I agree. I think one of the solutions I mentioned earlier was about the maybe putting a temporary restriction, right, and not a price increase. Just hold off on that until we get above water. Now when we have enough people to grade and our demand isn't so high, we'll take those in for those that really like that player. We shouldn't shun somebody out because they like a player. If common or not, it may be common for you, it may not be common for that kid or for that guy. What if they met this player and they have a story or history behind this player and they decide, oh, I want to collect this player now? And I've met people like that gravitate to, like, let's call it a B star on a team, or just a common player, because they had a personal interaction with them, or their favorite game involved that player. They went to a stadium one day and saw that player hit like a game-winning home run, and now they love that player. We shouldn't shun people out like this because of that. Restrictive for temporary is, to me, the best solution I can come up with on a whim. Again, I'm always open to other ideas, but price increase, worst of a bunch. What do we have here? Okay, well, I guess I'm not sending my Ripken 700 raws. Yeah, man, it's that's where we're at right now. 800 plus raw. Oh man. Depends on what the raw cost of plastics are, as well as PSA getting squeezed on the other end. Kevin, you know what? Great point. I didn't think about that. I mean, I could tell you in my world, commodities are at an all-time high, and just looking at the commodities market, yeah, everything's up. Um, I'm going to go out on a whim and say that 60% overnight growth, increase rather. Man, I don't know any commodity that would justify spending $12 a card to 20. That's the only thing I would add to that. But you're right. That does factor in raw cost of commodities, plastics in this case, should factor into this for sure, as everything, is going up. Everything around us is going. I get that. But 60%, man, that's a lot of money. And keep in mind, their prices just went up not too long ago. So that should have saturated that organic growth in commodity costs, in my opinion. Let's see. The ice cream shop's doing alive and well with Tops. Right? Yeah, current prices aren't getting lower. I agree. Again, I know I'm venting a little bit, guys, but man, this to me is truly a Black Monday in the hobby. Far be it for me to not inject my opinion and to hear what you guys had to say on it. This is the first time I really have done something like this, so you can see how pissed off I was this morning about it. I think it really does suck what happened today. And let's see what we have here. As mentioned, inflation is already poised to rear its ugly head for the first time in a generation. PSA is just one small microcosm of the impending problem. Daniel, yeah, you're right. But again, I think gradual increase, again, not to keep on referencing my 9 to 5, in the last 2 years, I've had 3 increases, right, in what I do in my 9 to 5. And I can tell you right now that each increase has been modest and has been analytically justified, almost penny for penny, to the raw materials, to the logistics, to the import taxes, to, like, we've actually justified it to our customers. If PSA did something similar to that, where they came out with a review and said, we went up from this price to this price, and here's the reason why, and put a PDF file out there for us to read and says basically, Cost of plastics went up from here to here. Cost of logistics went up from here to here. An easier pill to swallow. But their increases have been exponential. And it's not a dumb coincidence that their increases have gone up significantly post acquisition. Okay. That speaks volumes, in my opinion. Yeah, and I agree with you guys. I mean, now the bar has been set. Who knows what's going to happen now? And I really think another increase is probably looming at this point, because if they put the increase there, and then the folks that say, "Ha ha," now my ultra high stuff is going to be turned around quicker, now they're going to say, "Okay, well, we got what we wanted. We have less volume and more margin." I don't think these guys are going away. And for them, okay, fine. But again, you're really hurting the reason PSA is PSA, which is the collector. Okay, you're hurting them, you're muscling them out, and that to me is the central focus of today, and the biggest issue. Hey, Kurt, man, talk about doors being open, man. I think you should have some meetings this week. Cal Pharma. I like the ring of that, Hawk. Yeah, everybody agrees prices won't go down. Fewer junk submissions demands demand stats same or increase, prices go up, supply. But yeah, I won't argue that again. And I won't be in a dead horse. I really get that element of it, but God, I mean, what do you do for the hobbyist, the collector, right? Because this is only thinking of the financial piece of this. What do you do for the collector? At bare minimum, throw them a bone and say temporary restriction. We'll get to it when we can get to it. Don't just increase prices and say screw you. That's my point. No, we got some negotiation going on here. Oh, that's so funny. That's great. The only way prices will go down is there's an absolute lack of demand of the service. That isn't happening anytime soon. Jerry, good point. Jeremy, excuse me, good point. Guys, thanks for the great comments. I appreciate you tuning in this morning on this impromptu show. I have to get going soon as I'm falling behind, but I really wanted to talk to you guys about um, Black Monday, if you will, for the hobby, and I appreciate all the great feedback here. Yeah, Matthew, I agree. There's probably going to be a lot of 6, 7s, and 8s out there very soon. Mark, hey, good to see you, buddy. 1014. So I'm way behind, but here's your comment. Veterans recognize the price greed with PSA over time. The new collectors, however, do not seem to care. I know so many new collectors who are about to sub 20 to 100 cards, and cost isn't even a factor to them because this is their first subs. Vets, it's hard to overlook because the new blood is willing to accept it. PSA will continue to take their money. Great comment, Mark. I just wonder, and this is the only thing I'll add to that. You say the new collector. What's the new collector's motivation, right? If it's the flip and some of us move on elsewhere, the veterans that buy, the collector that buys moves on, then they might be holding the bag, on some of this stuff. I'm not saying everything. Some things will stand the test of time, and we could talk for hours about cards that will never go down versus cards that might go down. I mean, that's not what I'm trying to get at here. What I'm saying is new collectors need to kind of learn from the mistakes of the veteran collectors as well, right? So if you're sending in 100 of the same card, all I'm going to say is tread really lightly on that. And yeah, anyway, good comment, Mark, and I appreciate you tuning in. All right, guys, I'll try. I'm going to start piecing together a couple, or kind of skipping a couple here, just to try to get to everything before I sign off. Robbie J, they're weeding out the junk, but as an accountant, I agree with the higher prices. If you have your overhead covered and capacity is 150% full, you have no choice but to raise prices. It brings your capacity down without pissing off customers who will pay the premium. Robbie, I get fair point. Fair point. I still think that it speaks volumes that they did not proactively adjust to the inevitable demand of the hobby. I mean, the writing was on the wall years ago. I don't think anybody would have predicted this level of growth. But the writing was on the wall that they needed to increase, everything, right? In terms of graders, efficiencies, all that to keep up with the demand on not just on open, but on slabs in general. And I still think that price increases is probably the worst way to do it. I still, without justification. Gradual price increases are very acceptable. Exponential price increases aren't. You don't go from 12 to $20 and say that there's a good reason behind it. I don't care what industry you're in. 12 to 20, good luck trying to explain that. Jeremy's so right. Speculators will make the late 80s look like a grain of sand on a beach. The current trend is not. It isn't. It is not sustainable. Totally agree on that too. Yeah, and look, I mean, Kurt, he's a great example. I mean, he's neck deep in this right now, guys. It's tough to keep up with demand. But I'll be curious to see what happens in a few months as a result of some of this new news. In Facebook groups, eBay is considered the gold standard for comps. Will be interesting to see how that's a great point, Dan. Let's see what happens now. There are some other obviously reputable comps out there, the third-party auction houses like the Heritage and the REAs of the world, for sure. But yeah, I mean, nobody would argue, right? We use eBay. Ronald, good point. I'm going to skip a little bit here, guys, because I do need to get going here soon. Even with the price increase, they still won't meet their turnaround time. I agree, Ronald. I think that's another thing. If you were going to sit there and justify a price increase and say that you're going to put it toward the business or make it more efficient and all that, a pill I can swallow. The price increase to me, again, just on the outside looking in, is heavily motivated on the fact that they can do it. And they can get away with making people wait for 6 to 8 months. They know it. If I'm wrong, I'll raise my hand again. I hope I'm wrong. But I think right now they know they can get away with this, and that's why they're doing it. Just got the email from Steve Sloan justifying price increase. Well, I'll be curious to check that out. Thanks, Greg, for letting me know. As much as these efforts has grown, PSA's capacity demand is still at an all-time high. Like any business in a high-demand state, regular analysis of pricing is necessary and adjustments are required. Oh boy, yeah, like. All right, I know I'm repeating myself a lot, but yeah, I think their last price increase more than covered that, in my opinion. I think it's so funny because it's business 101. That kind of verbiage is what every CEO and president writes on their damn price increase letters to the, it's trying to find that fine line of throwing out enough mush out there to justify the truth. And the truth is the demand's high, so let's just charge a shit ton more. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, GAI. I really think it's going to be interesting to see what new company comes out on open pack grading, because I think now the door is wide open in the next 6 to 12 months. And I use SGC, but I just have a personal preference and do not care for their labels. Yeah, I get it, but I mean, I think you would maybe consider a little bit more now, right? If the price gap is so wide. I mean, I don't like it personally for my 80s, 70s, and 90s cards, but I might consider it a little bit more now for sure. Yeah, card shows are booming. And guys, thanks again for tuning in. I'm gonna fast forward here. I'm gonna do a last round. And if I missed your question or comment, I really apologize. I'm doing my best here. Maybe I'll do a future comment on this later in the week. I agree with you, Tim. They need to clone Steve Stat. He does fantastic work. Yeah, Kyle, I agree with you. I think the door's open for some of these folks. I won't mention names, but there are some folks out there that we would absolutely trust with any and every pack that we have. So, if you're watching or you hear this, it's something for now more than ever to consider, because $50 for a pack, man, that is a lot of coin. Hey, Julius, thanks for tuning in. I collect graded sets. I can't now and may have to bail. See, this is the stuff, guys. I'm sorry. I know this is what pisses me off. All right. Guys like Julius saying, it's true. And I feel for them, it's this crazy growth in prices on every level is muscling out the collector. Um, I think PSA did a complete disservice in doing what they did today, and eBay as well. Anyone notice the common theme that ruins everything in the hobby? Greed, PSA, eBay, flippers, the card. Yep, Rex, spot on. Great comment. And guys, hold on. Let's see what I have here. Again, I'm kind of cherry picking now because of time. My apologies. Okay, and here we go. Funny day. I don't get why. Sorry, I don't get why Steve train more employees to do grading. Everything is teachable. Just have to find the right people to do it all. So if it's half insane as we as collectors, et cetera, rely on one person. You know, Hawk, that's a great comment. What I can tell you is we don't know if that's happening already. That's the only thing I'll add to that. But I do agree with you. Perhaps that's already happening, and we just don't know. You know, those kind of things won't come out until they're good and ready. Um, but you know, you would hope that there is some sort of a contingency plan, right, to keep up with this demand, and not just saying increase prices because I can't handle this. It's more like let's look for effective solutions to make the hobby continue to thrive the way it's thriving, not just for those that are in it for the financial gain, but for the collectors and for the middle ground folks as well, right? More impromptu hobby news broadcast makes Monday morning. Thanks, Rex. I was just very lucky today that I didn't have morning meetings, but I will do my best on any off days I get. I appreciate the support, buddy. It's easy to lose a certain percent of customers and have to hire more people. Yeah, Nat, a good comment as well. I agree. I think maybe my passion is speaking, but I get, like, again, for those just staring at the spreadsheet, you're looking at it from that point of view. You get it. But when PSA started this and they realized that you're talking about an industry, if you will, that is heavily skewed toward the human element, you have to think about the human element. And in order to make that piece work, you have to make more investments than most. And, you know, if you only think about the spreadsheet, you're going to muscle away the true base. My 2 cents. I've never had a card graded, but was working on a submission. But now with these price increases, I'll just play the waiting game. There's another comment. Kevin, thank you for chiming in. Appreciate that. It's really painful to see that. Make it a hobby-driven submission process. Authorized dealers get a discount. Allow the collectors to find the authorized dealers. I Kurt's group and Mickey Davis type group. It is. Let's see. Is it easier for PSA to do 10,000 subs from one source rather than? Great point, Michael. Solid comment. You know, look, again, efficiencies. Continue to work on them. There are those options currently available, but maybe amp it up a little bit. Maybe change the game, change the rules a little bit, right? Where your efficiencies allow you to make every collector happy. Again, FU from today, that's not the answer. You just pissed off a lot of collectors today, both eBay and PSA. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate that. Yeah, Kurt, I think we're definitely going to chime in more on this, and I'd love to have some guests and get a panel discussion on this for sure. I think this is a hot topic now and for the indefinite future. So count on that. Again, I really shot from the hip here today, guys. It was more emotionally based, as you can tell, but I know a lot of people would agree with me, and I really wanted to get some comments from you guys because I really value that. Again, you don't have to agree with me. It's not about that. It's about having an intelligent debate, putting our points out there, especially, you know, just trying to understand every piece of this. Again, make it clear. I understand the financial piece of this, the dotted line, but the collector piece is really what got screwed today. Very important that even the financial folks out there understand that. Collector was pretty screwed today. Okay, guys. Yeah, yeah. You talk about commodities, like I was mentioning earlier, Kurt. You got a double dose of it in the hobby and in your 9 to 5. So, um, thank you guys. All right, I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate this. I do have to get going now to my 9 to 5. Well, let me see what else I can put together. And this Friday, we do have an episode on the junk wax era with our friend Brandon Stewart as well as Aaron Minson. We'll have likely another guest joining in to be named soon. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it. Click the like and subscribe button, get the word out there, and you can share this not in my private group, but you can share this on Kurt's page. You can grab the link from there. You can also grab the link from Vintage Wax and Packs, and of course on YouTube, you can share that as well. I appreciate it. Again, no comment is bad. Appreciate all the insight from any side of it. And we'll talk soon. Thanks. Take care, guys.